Hello, ladies, and welcome to our new Bible reading series. I'm Cindra Enlow from heavenlyplace.com, and this year, as we read through the Bible, we'll explore God's incredible story of love and redemption. If you're looking for a Bible reading plan that's simple and doable, this is it. So let's get started and discover the heart of God together, one chapter at a time. Hello, ladies, and welcome back to our one-year Bible reading plan. This is week 17, day 5. And today's reading is 2 Samuel chapter 5 and 1 Chronicles chapters 11 and 12. So today marks a major moment in the story of Israel as David is finally anointed king over all of Israel. After years of waiting and running and trusting God, David steps into the role that God had promised and prepared for him. In 2 Samuel 5, we are going to see that the people come together to recognize David's leadership, and then David captures Jerusalem, which becomes the new center of worship and government for Israel for years. In 1 Chronicles 11, the story's retold with some extra details, and we see that the list of David's mighty men is included here. These are brave and loyal warriors who stood by him even during the hard years when he was in hiding. And, these weren't perfect men, but they were faithful and courageous. And they were willing to risk everything to support the work God was doing through David. And then in chapter 12, we see even more warriors coming to join David from all the tribes of Israel. Men who once fought for Saul are now rallying around David. It's just a beautiful picture of unity and strength and how God's hand begins to pull the nation together. And here's where we see the heart of God. His promises never fail. Even when the journey is long and hard, as it was in David's case, God is faithful to complete what he starts. He gathers people together, he strengthens his leaders, and he brings his plans to pass in his perfect timing. And this reminds me of the verse in Romans 8:28. It's a very familiar verse to most people. It says, "We know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are called according to his purpose." And we know that David was, of course, called according to God's purpose, and he loved him with all his heart. Okay, so let's begin our reading today, 2 Samuel chapter 5 and 1 Chronicles 11 and 12. 2 Samuel 5. Then all the tribes of Israel came to David at Hebron and spoke, saying, "Behold, we are your bone and your flesh. In times past, when Saul was king over us, it was you who led Israel out and in. Yahweh said to you, 'You will be shepherd of my people Israel, and you will be prince over Israel.' So all the elders of Israel came to the king of Hebron, and King David made a covenant with them in Hebron before Yahweh, and they anointed David king of Israel. David was 30 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 40 years. In Hebron he reigned over Judah 7 years and 6 months, and in Jerusalem he reigned 33 years over all Israel and Judah. The king and his men went to Jerusalem against the Jebusites, the inhabitants of the land, who spoke to David, saying, 'The blind and the lame will keep you out of here,' thinking, 'David can't come in here.' Nevertheless, David took the stronghold of Zion. This is David's city. David said on that day, 'Whoever strikes the Jebusites, let him go up to the watercourse and strike those lame and blind who are hated by David's soul.' Therefore they say, 'The blind and the lame can't come into the house.' David lived in the stronghold and called it David's city. David built around from Milo and inward. David grew greater and greater, for Yahweh the God of armies was with him. Hiram king of Tyre sent messengers to David with cedar trees, carpenters, and masons, and they built David a house. David perceived that Yahweh had established him king over Israel, and that he had exalted his kingdom for his people Israel's sake. David took more concubines and wives for himself out of Jerusalem after he had come from Hebron, and more sons and daughters were born to David. These are the names of those who were born to him in Jerusalem: Shemua, Shobab, Nathan, Solomon, Ibhar, Elishua, Nepheg, Japhiah, Elishama, Eliada, and Eliphalet. When the Philistines heard that they had anointed David king over Israel, all the Philistines went up to seek David. But David heard about it and went down to the stronghold. Now the Philistines had come and spread themselves in the valley of Rephaim. David inquired of Yahweh, saying, Shall I go up against the Philistines? Will you deliver them into my hand? Yahweh said to David, Go up, for I will certainly deliver the Philistines into your hand. David came to Baal-perazim, and David struck them there. Then he said, Yahweh has broken my enemies before me like the breach of waters. Therefore he called the name of that place Baal-perazim. They left their images there, and David and his men took them away. The Philistines came up yet again and spread themselves in the valley of Rephaim. When David inquired of Yahweh, he said, You shall not go up. Circle around behind them and attack them in front of the mulberry trees. When you hear the sound of marching in the tops of the mulberry trees, then stir yourself up, for then Yahweh has gone out before you to strike the army of the Philistines. David did so, as Yahweh commanded him, and struck the Philistines all the way from Geba to Gezer. 1 Chronicles 11. Then all Israel gathered themselves to David to Hebron, saying, Behold, we are your bone and your flesh. In times past, even when Saul was king, it was you who led out and brought in Israel. Yahweh your God said to you, You shall be shepherd of my people Israel, and you shall be prince over my people Israel. So all the elders of Israel came to the king to Hebron, and David made a covenant with them in Hebron before Yahweh. They anointed David king over Israel according to Yahweh's word by Samuel. David and all Israel went to Jerusalem, also called Jebus, and the Jebusites, the inhabitants of the land, were there. The inhabitants of Jebus said to David, You will not come in here. Nevertheless, David took the stronghold of Zion, the same as David's city. David had said, Whoever strikes the Jebusites first shall be chief and captain. Joab the son of Zeruiah went up first and was made chief. David lived in the stronghold. Therefore they called it David's city. He built the city all around, from Millo even around, and Joab repaired the rest of the city. David grew greater and greater, for Yahweh of armies was with him. Now these are the chiefs of the mighty men whom David had, who showed themselves strong with him in his kingdom, together with all Israel, to make him king, according to Yahweh's word concerning Israel. This is the number of the mighty men whom David had: Jashobeam the son of a Hakimite, the chief of the 30. He lifted up his spear against 300 and killed them at one time. After him was Eleazar the son of Dodo, the Ahohite, who was one of the 3 mighty men. He was with David at Pasadamon, and there the Philistines were gathered together to battle, where there was a plot of ground full of barley, and the people fled from before the Philistines. They stood in the middle of the plot, defended it, and killed the Philistines, and Yahweh saved them by a great victory. 3 of the 30 chief men went down to the rock to David into the cave of Adullam, and the army of the Philistines were encamped in the valley of Rephaim. David was then in the stronghold, and the garrison of the Philistines was in Bethlehem at that time. David longed and said, Oh, that someone would give me water to drink from the well of Bethlehem, which is by the gate. The 3 broke through the army of the Philistines and drew water out of the well of Bethlehem that was by the gate, took it and brought it to David. But David would not drink any of it, but poured it out to Yahweh, and said, My God forbid me that I should do this. Shall I drink the blood of these men who have put their lives in jeopardy? For they risked their lives to bring it. Therefore he would not drink it. The 3 mighty men did these things. Abishai the brother of Joab was chief of the 3, for he lifted up his spear against 300 and killed them, and had a name among the 3. Of the 3 he was more honorable than the 2, and he was made their captain. However, he wasn't included in the 3. Benaiah the son of Jehoiada, the son of a valiant man of Gabzeel, who had done mighty deeds, killed the 2 sons of Ariel of Moab. He also went down and killed a lion in the middle of a pit on a snowy day. He killed an Egyptian, a man of great stature, 5 cubits high. In the Egyptian's hand was a spear like a weaver's beam, and he went down to him with a staff, plucked the spear out of the Egyptian's hand, and killed him with his own spear. Benaiah the son of Jehoiada did these things and had a name among the 3 mighty men. Behold, he was more honorable than the 30, but he didn't attain to the 3, and David set him over his guard. The mighty men of the armies also include Asahel, the brother of Joab, Elhanan, the son of Dodo of Bethlehem, Shamath the Hararite, Helez the Pelonite, Ira the son of Ikish the Tekoite, Abiezer the Manathothite, Sibbecai the Hushathite, Ilai the Ahohite, Maharai the Netophathite, Hela the son of Baana the Netophathite, Ethai the son of Ribai of Gibeah, of the children of Benjamin, Benaiah the Pirathonite, Hurai of the brooks of Gahash, Abiel the Arbathite, Asmaveth the Baharamite, Eliabah the Shalbanite, the sons of Hashem the Gizonite, Jonathan the son of Shagi the Hararite, Ahiam the son of Sakar the Hararite, Eliphel the son of Ur, Hefer the Mecherathite, Ahijah the Pelonite, Hezro the Carmelite, Narai the son of Ezbai, Joel the brother of Nathan, Mibhar the son of Hagri, Zelek the Ammonite, Naharai the Berothite, the armor-bearer of Joab the son of Zeruiah, Ira the Ithrite, Goreb the Ithrite, Uriah the Hittite, Zabad the son of Ali, Adina the son of Shiza the Reubenite, a chief of the Reubenites, and 30 with him, Hanan the son of Maacah, Joshaphat the Mithnite, Uzziah the Ashtarathite, Shammah and Jael, the sons of Hotham the Arorite, Jediel the son of Shimri, and Joha his brother, the Tizite, Eliel the Mahavite, and Jerbai, and Joshaviah, the sons of Elnam, and Ithma the Moabite, Eliel, Obed, and Jasiel the Mezbite. 1 Chronicles 12. Now these are those who came to David to Ziklag while he was a fugitive from Saul the son of Kish. They were among the mighty men, his helpers in war. They were armed with bows and could use both the right hand and the left in slinging stones and in shooting arrows from the bow. They were of Saul's relatives of the tribe of Benjamin. The chief was Ahiezer, then Joash, the sons of Shemaiah, the Gibeathite, Jeziel and Pelet, the sons of Asmaveth, Berekah, Jehu the Anathite, Ishmael the Gibeonite, a mighty man among the 30 and a leader of the 30, Jeremiah, Jehaziel, Johanan, Jozabad, the Girdiothite, Eluzai, Jeremoth, Beliah, Shamarai, Shaphatiah, the Huraphite, Elkanah, Ishaiah, Azriel, Joezer, and Jashobeam, the Korahites, and Jola and Zebediah, the sons of Jeraham of Gedor. Some Gadites joined David in the stronghold in the wilderness, mighty men of valor, men trained for war, who could handle shield and spear, whose faces were like the faces of lions, and they were as swift as the gazelles of the mountains. Ezer the chief, Obadiah the second, Eliab the third, Mishmannah the fourth, Jeremiah the fifth, Attai the sixth, Eliel the seventh, Johanna the eighth, Elzabad the ninth, Jeremiah the 10th, and Macbenai the 11th. These of the sons of Gad were captains of the army. He who was least was equal to 100, and the greatest to 1,000. These are those who went over the Jordan in the first month, when it had overflowed all its banks, and they put to flight all who lived in the valleys, both toward the east and toward the west. Some of the children of Benjamin and Judah came to the stronghold to David. David went out to meet them and answered them, "If you have come peaceably to me to help me, my heart will be united with you. But if you have come to betray me to my adversaries, since there is no wrong in my hands, may the God of our fathers see this and rebuke it." Then the Spirit came on Amasai, who was chief of the 30, and he said, "We are yours, David, and on your side, you son of Jesse. Peace, peace be to you, and peace be to your helpers, for your God helps you." Then David received them and made them captains of the band. Some of Manasseh also joined David when he came with the Philistines against Saul to battle, but they didn't help them, for the lords of the Philistines sent him away after consultation, saying, "He will desert to his master Saul to the jeopardy of our heads." As he went to Ziklag, some from Manasseh joined him: Adnah, Jozabad, Jediel, Michael, Jozabad, Elihu, and Zelathai, captains of thousands who were of Manasseh. They helped David against the band of raiders, for they were all mighty men of valor and were captains in the army. For from day to day men came to David to help him until there was a great army, like God's army. These are the numbers of the heads of those who were armed for war, who came to David to Hebron to turn the kingdom of Saul to him, according to Yahweh's word. The children of Judah who bore shield and spear were 6,800 armed for war. Of the children of Simeon, mighty men of valor for the war, 7,100. Of the children of Levi, 4,600. Jehoiada was the leader of the household of Aaron, and with him were 3,700. And Zadok, a young man mighty of valor, and of his father's house 22 captains. Of the children of Benjamin, Saul's relatives, 3,000, for until then the greatest part of them had kept their allegiance to Saul's house. Of the children of Ephraim, 20,800, mighty men of valor, famous men in their fathers' houses. Of the half-tribe of Manasseh, 18,000, who were mentioned by name, to come and make David king. Of the children of Issachar, men who had understanding of the times, to know what Israel ought to do. Their heads were 200, and all their brothers were at their command. Of Zebulun, such as were able to go out in the army, who could set the battle in array with all kinds of instruments of war, 50,000 who could command, and were not of double heart. Of Naphtali, 1,000 captains, and with them with shield and spear 37,000. Of the Danites who could set the battle in array, 28,600. Of Asher, such as were able to go out in the army, who could set the battle in array, 40,000. On the other side of the Jordan, of the Reubenites, the Gadites, and of the half-tribe of Manasseh, with all kinds of instruments of war for the battle, 120,000. All these were men of war who could order the battle array, and came with a perfect heart to Hebron to make David king over all Israel. And all the rest also of Israel were of the heart to make David king. They were there with David 3 days, eating and drinking, for their brothers had supplied provision for them. Moreover, those who were near to them, as far as Issachar, Zebulun, and Naphtali, brought bread on the donkeys, on camels, on mules, and on oxen, supplies of flour, cakes of figs, clusters of raisins, wine, oil, cattle, and sheep in abundance, for there was joy in Israel.